From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings LALATE.
It's a big morning of Mornings LALATE with incredible news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. In this special breaking news report about your fourth stimulus recon, we're going to go over that recon that passed the House. But will it pass the Senate? The latest details with that jaw-dropping interview from Joe Manchin minutes ago. The reaction from Bernie Sanders. The analysis in a special breaking special report. In this recording on Mornings, I'll go over all this incredible recon. The Senate changes that would come to that recon and the checks that would go out to the American people amounting to at least $15,000. We're going to turn back to third stimulus that's paying out money, still about $5,000. We're going to go over that as well. Student loan debt forgiveness, the latest details on that, plus the latest details about this stimulus. But in this special report, live and direct from Santa Monica, California, we're going to go over the latest breaking news minutes ago as Joe Manchin came out and gave a definitive statement about the recon for the first time ever. And Bernie Sanders reacted to the news. You're going to learn in this recording why in this special report this is great news for the recon. What Joe Manchin did today was a great step for you and the Purple Power because it helps get the recon over the finish line. It's a special live recording, and to the extent we have time, I'll also go into the live chat and interact with you to answer why Joe Manchin's statements about the recon minutes ago were good news for the future of the recon and great news for your wallet. Those details and more as we go into a special live breaking news special edition as Joe Manchin speaks out about the recon on Fox News Sunday. And I have the latest details about the recon, and it starts right now from LALATE live this Sunday morning. Hey, good morning, everybody, and happy holidays. Hope your Merry Christmas week is getting ready because it's next week. Those Senate changes, that incredible recon that passed the House will be robust, and that recon will have a lot of checks in there, at least $15,000. I'll go over the latest details of that. Plus, we'll be touching over to third stimulus for just a blink of an eye, and to student loan debt forgiveness, and then what's going on with this stimulus. But this recording will be quite different than a usual Mornings LA live recording because this is a special breaking news report. Special report will go over the statement from Joe minutes ago, detailing his position on the recon and Bernie Sanders' reaction to the news. I'll go over my reaction to the news and what you should think going forward. As the toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, and the coffee is brewing. It's a big, bold Mornings LA broadcast, and I want you part of this incredible family. So go under the video right now and subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family, where you're going to see today in this recording especially how you don't want to watch this anywhere else except here. Become a member so that you get the incredible newsletter. It comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system and the LALATE alert system. And also sign up for the LALATE alert system, which is a link under the description of the video. And with that, let's go into the breaking news. A very different video this morning because of the special report you're now watching live and direct from Santa Monica, California. Let me go over what I'm covering in this recording. I'm going to go over what happened this morning, the reaction to what happened this morning, the lead up into what happened this morning, and where we're going from here after these incredible statements. Then after the commercial break, I'm going to come back and go over why watching the news here is where you want to stay, because in view of this morning's events, you're going to hear a very incorrect series of reports coming out in the next few days. Then we go over what's happening in January. All right, let's go over the breaking news starting minutes ago. It's Sunday morning here in Los Angeles, and just minutes ago, Joe Manchin, the senator from West Virginia, appeared on Fox News. And he appeared on Fox News to give, for the first time since January 1st, 2021, a definitive statement that if the vote was called for the recon, for stimulus recon, he would vote no. This is great news for you and the American people right now, because I'm going to explain to you in the analysis of this video why this is great news, that he finally said a definitive statement, yes or no. The reaction to the news came on CNN when Bernie Sanders was booked for the first time to talk about the recon the last 3 days and said, hashtag Chuck call the vote. He basically said, hashtag Chuck call the vote. Let's go over everything led up into today's developing details. But first, let me tell you why this is great news for you. This is great news for you because finally it calls the vote. It finally calls the vote on the foursomes recon. There's no reason not to call the vote now. And it calls the vote for the recon to see where people's hands rest, what provisions have to be removed, what provisions have to be added, and we're done. And we can go to the finish line. Let's go back over what has transpired for short term and then long term. Short term. It was 2 weeks ago I said, do not miss a single video or a single day of this channel. And if this is Monday or Tuesday and you're watching an encore version of this broadcast first appearing on Sunday, you're going to say, what the world did I miss? Yeah, there's literally been a massive movement of planetary provisions in the last 48 hours. 3 weeks ago, Chuck Schumer issued a Richards statement that said the fourth stimulus recon would go to a vote in the Senate by Christmas Eve, Friday, December 24th. He also said verbally that the fourth stimulus recon would become a law by Christmas Eve. That means he would have to go back to the House for 1 day. This coming week, is the week that he said the voting would start. That Monday, for a 5-day week, 4 days of voting, enough time to get it to law, enough time to pass in the Senate, 3 days. Very, very simple. So what happened earlier this week when we were waiting the vote to start this coming week? Well, we believed the voting was going to happen. And then Wednesday, a series of major developing details. First, the president had a series of meetings with Joe Manchin at the White House, Joe and Joe meetings. The meetings reportedly were unsuccessful. The meetings were unproductive. In fact, the meetings reportedly went backwards, not forward. Elizabeth Warren is a straight shooter and tells us what's something wrong or something's not on track, says that Joe Manchin went to those meetings and actually said that provisions he had agreed to previously over the previous months, now he did not agree to. Really? Yeah. So it does not look good as of Wednesday morning, as I report on this channel, between Joe and Joe. Another problem at the issue at the time at Wednesday was Joe and Chuck. Chuck Schumer on a Wednesday is waiting to write a letter to his Senate Democrats saying, stay in town, we're doing the voting next week. It's going to take 4 days, stay in town, we're going to get done. But he can't send the letter out because he's waiting to see what's going on at the Joe meeting. So he's writing the President of the United States, Chuck Schumer's writing the President of the United States saying, Mr. President, am I calling the vote on Monday? Because I'm ready to call the vote on Monday on the fourth stimulus recon. No response from the White House. And that lack of response from the White House is actually documented on this channel on Wednesday recordings, where Chuck Schumer's upset. He doesn't know what the White House is doing. He has no clarification, no guidance. He's ready to write the letters, say, stay in town, senators. We're calling the vote next week. White House doesn't say anything. That is Wednesday. So Wednesday is not a particularly good day. Chuck Schumer waiting for guidance, not getting it, and the Joe negotiations not going well, and Liz Warren saying Joe Manchin is backtracking. He's not even at the same point it was a few weeks ago. What happens Thursday? Thursday, in not one, but 2 special live editions, special reports on this channel. A special report afternoons LALATE live, and a special evenings LALATE live. You know if it's important, it's live. Just like this video, which is a special report right now. The President of the United States issues a written statement, unlike anything I've ever seen during this administration. It says something totally different than 24 hours earlier. On Wednesday, the day before, the President of the United States was asked by press, will the recon start voting this coming week? He says, I believe it. Yes, it will, and I believe it's going to get passed. That's Wednesday. The President saying to news reporters, I believe the recon will start voting, and I believe it will pass this coming week, the week of Christmas. Thursday, he writes a statement for the press, totally different than the day before. He says we're not ready to start voting next week, and we're not ready with this bill. We need a couple more weeks. What? Wednesday, he says, we're ready. Wednesday, he says, it's about to become law. Wednesday, he says, let's go. Thursday, he says, no, now we need a couple more weeks. In that letter, the President of the United States name checks Joe Manchin 3 times. Joe Manchin, Joe Manchin, Joe Manchin. Later that day, a statement is issued by Joe Manchin, which I've never seen in the history of this channel, where a member of the same party basically jabs at the leader of his party, who happens to be the President of the United States. Joe Manchin says, that's what the president's writing, but that's not what came out of my mouth. And he also says something along the lines of, he can say what I want to, he can claim whatever I said, but I'll tell you what I said. That's not what I said. Oh boy. I've never seen that sort of level of tension between a senator and the leader of his party at the same time. That's Thursday. Thursday, I was telling you, basically, we're going into Saturday. We're going into January. We're voting in January, getting ready to vote in January. We were doing the hashtag campaign to Chuck Call the Vote. Chuck Call the Vote, Chuck Call the Vote. Hashtag Chuck Call the Vote, because we're voting in January. Pretty simple. And the president needs a few more weeks, big deal. What happened minutes ago? Minutes ago, Joe Manchin, the senator from West Virginia, appeared for press. No, not for press, for one channel, one broadcast channel, and appeared on them, and he said, I have something to tell you. His message, I'm voting against the forced stimulus recall. Now, here are the 2 surprises about that. 1, he says it on Fox News. Number 2, the White House and no one else knew he was going to say this. Now, at the time of this recording, which is live Santa Monica time, 9 a.m. on a Sunday, I don't know if this was even his position when he met with the White House on Wednesday. We will learn this coming week, and you're going to see this tonight on Afternoons LA at 3 o'clock. We're going to see this week if Liz Warren and the press secretary, the Teal Monster, come after Joe Manchin and say, listen, this is not what he told us on Wednesday. We met with him on Wednesday. This Fox News interview is a total blindsided interview. He never said this to us. Why is this great news for us? It's great news for us for the very simple proposition of now the vote will happen. Hashtag Chuck Call the Vote. When the vote happens, the recon will get modified and will get done either as that recon or another recon, and will get done. And now there's no reason not to call the vote. And if you don't buy it from me, guess who said exactly the same message I just said to you, which I've been saying for the last 3 days? Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders appeared on broadcast media on CNN in reaction to the Fox News interview with Joe Manchin and said exactly what I've been saying on this channel for the last 3 days, and in fact, for almost 3 weeks. Just call a vote. Hashtag Chuck Call the Vote. Bernie Sanders said, that's fine, you appear on Fox News, Joe Manchin, but let's put your hand up on the House Senate floor and let's see where you vote. And let's see what happens then. Let me run the quotes for you. Joe Manchin on Fox News. If I can't go home and explain to the West Virginia people of West Virginia, I can't vote for it. And if I can't vote to continue with this piece of legislation, I just can't. I've tried everything humanly possible. I can't get there. This is a no on this piece of legislation. I've tried everything I know to do. When asked, would he vote yes or no? He said no. Then Bernie Sanders, CNN. Here's the reaction from Bernie Sanders. He says that I hope that we will bring a strong bill to the floor of this strong bill to the floor of the Senate as soon as we can, and let Mr. Manchin explain to the people of West Virginia why he doesn't have the guts to stand up to the powerful special interests. If he doesn't have the courage to do the right thing for the working families of West Virginia, America, let him vote no in the front of the whole world. All right, so we have a lot to cover now. First, we're going to cover over why this is great news for you. We're going to go over hashtag Chuck Call the Vote. Then we're going to go over what happens next. We're going to go over where Joe Manchin has been disingenuous during this process, from point A to point B to point C. And then we're going to go over what happens in January. First, why is this great news for us? It's great news for us because Joe Manchin has been running from the story as long as we can remember. In recent days, in recent weeks, in recent months, every single time he's asked by a news reporter, yes or no, are you going to vote for the recon or vote against the recon? I'm not going to answer the question. He specifically says, I'm not answering the question. That doesn't help us when he says, I'm not going to answer the question. Then, when asked, do you have an opinion about it? Yeah, I do. What he did a few weeks ago was he published an op-ed, which is an opinion piece in a newspaper about the recon, saying we need to pause on the subject matter. Pause means I don't want to talk about it. Come back to me in a few weeks and we'll talk about that. Pause again doesn't help us. When someone says I don't want to talk about the subject matter, it doesn't mean yes, doesn't mean no. It means just don't talk about it with me. So, why is today's statement so great? Because now you call the vote. Now you call the vote. On Wednesday on this channel, I said to you, when Chuck Schumer was not calling the vote, and I thought it was a Chuck Schumer problem, which it apparently was not, I said, Chuck, just call the vote, because your Democratic senators are saying that to you, that ultimately you don't know where a Joe Manchin is on the situation until you have the vote. We have the Mazie Hirono quote. She's a Democratic senator from Hawaii. We have the Dick Durbin quote, Democratic senator from Illinois, who both said, and we have the Bernie Sanders quotes from that same month. This was late November. You just have to call the vote. You can't keep on avoiding calling the vote because you're afraid to get a no vote. Then on Thursday, I said, just call the vote and don't wait for the president to make a determination. Just call the vote. On Thursday, Friday, and Saturday's recordings on this channel, I said, the president's afraid to call the vote because he thinks it's going to fail. And I said, failure is a great thing. Failure is a great thing because then you go back and fix it. Let me show you the dramatics of this, the dynamics of it, and how this works. Call the vote. All in favor? Yes. All against? No. Okay, so it doesn't pass. It fails. There is a few things you can do. First, you can do a vote-a-rama to amend it to remove the provision from the person who voted against it. That's the most obvious way. Another way is you do an initial poll of them before the vote happens, and you have them explain on the congressional floor what's going on. Now, the last way, and perhaps the other way, is you just vote, it fails, then you go back and do a no version of it, a Build Back America Act 2.0, and pass that with the modifications. Now let's make something clear, because I think you know this, but let me make it very clear. It's totally different about appearing on the Senate floor and raising your hand and saying no, than writing something in a newspaper and burying it out in an op-ed piece. In the world of press, the best way to get a story out there is your face, 5 p.m., prime time, national news. The way to bury a story is to talk about it on a weekend before a holiday when everyone's traveling in the middle of an off hour, like an early morning or late night. Guess what Joe Manchin did? He buried the story. Again, he's running from the story. So this is what would happen. And this is what Chuck Schumer, Mazie Hirono, and Dick Durbin all talk about. Chuck called the vote. First, you don't call the vote on the Senate floor. First, you have something called debate. You saw this with Nancy. We talked about this a lot when we were doing the roads and bridges a few weeks ago. You first have the debate. Now, the debate is going to be on C-SPAN. It's going to be on CNN. It's going to be live feed. It's going to be everywhere. It'll be on here, of course. And it's not going to be Bernie versus Josh Hawley. It's not going to be Liz Warren versus Ted Cruz. It's not going to be that type. It's not going to be that reality show. No, it's going to be Bernie going after Joe Manchin. He's going to stand there and he's going to go right after Joe Manchin. And everyone's going to wait for Joe Manchin to talk. And either he talks or he doesn't talk. If he talks, it's going to be bad for him. If it doesn't talk, it's going to be bad for him again. Because people are going to want to know, why is he saying no? Why is he going to say no if he won't explain to us why he's going to say no? He's going to have to say something, Joe Manchin. He's going to have to say something. You want him to talk. You want him to talk because he'll say, I don't like it because of this. Why is this good for him to be put on the spot? Because he explains what's wrong and they fix it. Now, I'm going to take Joe Manchin's side for just a second. And I'm not being devil's advocate. Some of these things I agree with him about. Fox News did get a good series of questions in there. When they asked Joe Manchin, well, What about this? What about that? He says, I'm not against the whole recon. It's just the way some of the stuff is written. Back in 2020, you knew on this channel that Broadcast Media always covered the extension of unemployment benefits because it was an easy subject matter. They just covered it. They would never cover the complicated stuff. They covered that one. The easy subject they always cover now is the child tax credit. $300 a month approximately. It's expiring. It's ending in December. Joe Manchin, do you not want to give $300 to young families with kids? Joe Manchin, how can you do that? That's a horrible thing. His response is, I want to do it. The legislation is written the wrong way. Here's me raising my hands. He's right. It's written the wrong way. Can you bring in Brian Deasy from the White House? Brian Deasy, you're writing the legislation the wrong way. So what did Joe Manchin tell Fox News this morning? He said, I'm in favor of the recon, this provision about the child tax credit. It's written the wrong way. I've agreed to 1 year. The kid with the purple shirt, whose shirt today is Tiger Red. Thank you, Tiger, for being back. So excited to see you back. Tiger Red Sunday. I've said to you for 4 months on this channel in cluster number 1 that the child tax credit is 1 year. How many times do I say 1 year, child tax credit? Joe Manchin on Fox News said the child tax credit is supposed to be extended for 1 year. The way the White House wrote it, it looks like it'll be indefinite for 20, 30, 40 years. Now, you're sitting back and you're saying, wait a second. I don't want people with kids to have $300 a month for 25 years and I don't get Zippo. Yeah, so you would be upset as well. So here, 1 point for Joe Manchin on this one. This is Brian Deasy situation. Now, here is where I'm going to go in deeper. I've been covering that problem of language writing on this channel since August. I've told you since August that Joe Manchin said there are provisions in here that are supposed to be 1 year, that they're written poorly so that they look like they run indefinitely. How many times have I made that recording on this channel? There is someone in the White House who, in my opinion, I don't have the factual knowledge of this, someone in my opinion that is not accidentally making this error. It's deliberately making this error and is pig-headed and stubborn and is trying to pull a wool over people's eyes with a deliberate error. Because we all know this error. I mean, we've covered this error on this channel for 5 months. There's an error of language where provisions look like they're supposed to be 1 year and they're running indefinitely for 20, 30 years. Now, there's a reason to think it's motivated. Why? Because the original version of the recon was to run these provisions for 20 years. And Bernie wanted I'm not saying it's Bernie. I'm just saying Bernie originally asked for a $7 trillion recon. Then they brought it down to $3 trillion by bringing the programs to 10 years, down to 1.7 to bringing the programs to 1 year. And Joe Manchin says, fine, I think it's still a $10 trillion recon because you're really running these programs for 20 years. So this is where you call the vote, and then suddenly everyone watching is going to say, I think he's right. Joe Manchin may be right here. Who in this White House is doing this? Now, this is where people who are informed, that watch C-SPAN, that are Democratic supporters, are going to say, I agree with Joe Manchin. There's something wrong here. Go fix it. And someone's going to level heads are going to get to the White House and say, listen here, there's something wrong in this provision. Now, let's take a step back. Liz Warren on Thursday said that Joe Manchin had agreed to certain provisions and now is unagreeing to them. Well, this is why, whether Liz Warren is right or whether she's wrong, that calling the vote is helpful. Calling the vote will have the floor debate at which Bernie Sanders will say, Joe, what are you against in this recon? I'm against. Now, if you and I sat here together and we try to figure out what is Joe Manchin against in the recon, we would be able to do it. We could be able to do it. We know he's against the paid leave. Okay. Just put that on the no list. He thinks he doesn't like paid leave. We know he's against programs that are running for more than 1 year. Okay, put it on the list. What else is he against in this recon? He was against the Medicaid gap fix, where there's 12 Republican states that were not paying for Obamacare. And so poor Democratic states like West Virginia were having to pick up the bill. And he says, you can't do that to my state. You'll bankrupt my state. I agree with him again on that one. So guess who also agreed with him? Everyone else, including Chuck Schumer and Raphael Warnock, they came in, and what did they do? They went in and they modified the language of the recon so that they did a workaround plan. So that's how level heads work when there's problems. Again, this is why calling the vote works. Calling the vote works because suddenly you get to hear someone during the floor debate saying, I'm against it because this. And Bernie can just keep on saying, you don't care, Joe Manchin, you don't care. But there's more than people emotionality in there. There may be provisions that are simply written wrong that when written right, the guy will say yes about. That's the first thing. The second thing is that when you call the vote, you avoid this strange dichotomy that's happened with Nancy, Chuck, and Nancy, which is never call the vote on something that's going to fail. Why? Because it looks bad. Why? Well, that'll hurt your poll ratings. His poll ratings are really bad. His poll ratings are about as bad as it can be. So why not do the correct thing, which is show the American people you're trying to fix it. Now, here is a deep opinion about this subject matter from me, which is the president has Democratic supporters because he's a Democrat. So Democratic supporters are going to know what's going on. They're going to watch this channel. They're going to watch other channels. They're going to watch CNN. And they're going to know what's going on. And they're going to know he's not calling the vote on a body of legislation he wants. They're going to know he keeps on saying another week, another 2 weeks, another 3 weeks. We're close. We're sort of there. They're like, you're not giving me the straight answer, Joe. You're not giving me the straight answer. You're not giving me the straight answer. What is wrong? This Fox News interview this morning basically is a side pivot by Joe Manchin. Says, you know what? You've not been level-headed with the American people. I'm against the recon, and you keep on making it sound like everything with the recon is fine with me. Now, whether Joe Manchin said the same thing to the president, I don't know. We don't know if this is Joe Manchin waking up Sunday morning saying, I'm going to just blindside everyone. I've always told everyone I love the recon. I'm going to just wake up and change my opinion and say, no, I don't like it. But at least now the White House has a guy on the record saying, I'm against it. So the White House can't play that spin game anymore and say, everything's fine. Everything's fine. No, it's not fine. You have to fix the language. You have to fix the provisions, take provisions out. Joe Manchin made very clear in the Fox News interview, he's not against all the recon. He's just against many big provisions of this recon. They're not done right. That's what legislating is about. If you don't like about the provision, take it out. Which brings me back to that stubborn person. There's someone stubborn in the White House that says, no, you must leave everything in there until it goes to a near death, and then it falls apart. And Joe Manchin's like, no, if something's wrong, fix it. So that is what's important. Now, Mazie Hirono, Dick Durbin, and the Bernie Sanders quotes from about a month ago said, you don't know where someone stands if you call the vote. Let's go over what I have said about that or not said about that since February. Back in February, there was rumblings of problems with Joe Manchin. I didn't cover them on the channel. Why? Because I said to you at the time, and I said to you up to almost a month ago, that Joe Manchin has this history of folding like a lawn chair, of doing a fake, a false negative, which is, he says, I don't like it, and you serve it to him. He's like, okay, I'll take it, whatever. It's like someone says, I don't want zucchini boats from Anne, and then you serve it, it's like, oh, that looks really good. That looks like the boat in the Doja Cat video. Okay, I'll eat that. Say no, and then you're like, okay, maybe I'll do that. That's why I didn't go in on Joe Manchin earlier months on this channel, because he often, just in the 11th hour, says yes. He did it just 2 weeks ago on the debt ceiling limit. Said no. And then when they called the vote, he said yes. And I ran on air. I showed you. I'm like typical Joe Manchin. He says no. Which is why you watch this channel, because it's totally different to appearing in an op-ed in a newspaper you write in the comfort of your house and email it off to say, I don't know. That's a very comforting way of avoiding the subject matter. Or appearing even on Fox News in a studio and say, you know what? No, at the moment. That's very comforting. It's not as comfortable for him to be on the Senate floor, raising his hand and saying no for the American people to see it, and every other Democratic senator going after him on the Senate floor saying, why not? And forcing him to say, why? And then the White House listened in and say, Okay, there's some truth in this. We should not have had this in there. There's some truth in this. We should have fixed these things. We should fix these things for fix things. And people can say, Joe Manchin had some points here. Maybe he didn't have some points on other provisions, but he had some points. And then some of the stuff, he wants it out, we want it in. We're gonna have to make a concession. We're gonna have to take it out. Otherwise, we don't have a recon. Done. It's just, why is this so obvious? It's very obvious. In the second half of this video, I'm going to go over what's happening in January. I'm going to go over what's happening in January, what's happening tomorrow. You're going to see a lot of fireworks tomorrow. I'm going to give you a preview of what's happening tomorrow. I told you earlier this week, I don't like reality TV political games, but it's becoming reality TV. But I'm going to show you what's happening tomorrow. If there was ever a time and place where I told you do not miss a video for a single minute or a single day, you're going to be behind. You're going to check in on someone who does not watch any videos on Sunday on this channel is going to check in on Monday and say, what I missed. There's like 6 hours you got to get caught up on. you gotta get the popcorn out and catch up on all the Sunday videos from LA, because a lot happened on Sunday. But in the second half of this video, I'm also going to go over why this vote is so good. And I'm also going to go over where Joe Manchin has changed in the last 6 months and where it can go from here and where this recon will get passed. Those incredible details coming up at the commercial break, plus the latest details on your third stimulus and also student loan debt forgiveness and fifth stimulus. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as a big Mornings LALATE special report live from Santa Monica. If you're just joining in, continues. Be back with you in 60 seconds as this Mornings LALATE show continues with the latest details of that breaking statement from Joe Manchin, the reaction from Bernie Sanders, and the pending reaction from the White House. See you back in 60 seconds from now.
If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.lalate.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the second half of LA's Morning Live special report continues right now. I'll have a little bit about student loan debt forgiveness. Fifth stimulus also on your COLA raise coming up in the second half. Plus, we'll be touching over to third stimulus. The viewers have gotten $1,000, on average $5,000 to pay their bills. Gotten those holiday Christmas gifts and more. It's third stimulus, and I'm going to show you how to get it. It's coming back in full form on Monday, but I'm going to give you a short preview of what's happening on Monday. Plus, we're going to go back into the latest details of where we're going forward on this recon and how it's going to become a law. The Senate changes and the passage of the recon, how do they get it done? Those details and more as we go into the second half of this video. I'm excited you're here. It's a lot coming up in the second half. We're far from over with the analysis of what happened this morning. And with that, I want you to subscribe. Go under this video right now and hit that subscribe button. Once you're part of the incredible family, and this is the place you want to watch for geopolitical news. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member, Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Casino VIP, so you get the incredible newsletter that comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system and the LALATE alert system. And with that, let's go into the incredible second half of this recording, starting right now with what happens now going into Monday. First, I want to go over why it's important to listen to this channel, not anywhere else. And I saw one of the comments during the commercial break, exactly what I expect. Here's what you need to know, is that since earlier this year, there were 3 different ways to report on anything from Joe Manchin. And for the first time ever, you're going to see me say this a little bit more bluntly than I've ever said it before. GOP owned broadcast channels and YouTube channels where the hosts are very anti-Democratic Party, and there's 2 of them, I'm not going to say who they are, love running stories about Joe Manchin. Their story is just a very simple narrative. The recon is never going to pass because Joe Manchin. That's their story. And for Joe Manchin to book himself for Fox News and deliver the message for the first time ever today on Fox News, that's going to be their victory dance in the corner, their cake with ice cream, their smiley face. This is going to be their victory dance. Those GOP websites, broadcast channels, and those 2 YouTube channels have loved saying you're never going to get a penny from anything from forced stimulus because it's going to fail because of Joe Manchin. That's the first group. The second group is the group that never explains anything to anyone. And they sort of do, they just, I don't know. I'll cover this and I'll go to nail polish next. You're like, what? I don't understand what happened. So they'll explain to you what's going on. It just sounds very, very confusing. And, if you don't go into the nuances of how you amend the bill and how you change the bill and how you call the vote and then you have the floor debate and then you show Joe Manchin this way, no one understands it. If you don't tell the story, they don't know what it is. And then there's me. I got to tell you, starting day one, starting Monday, you're going to see the divisive vacuum even more clear. There's going to be those 2 YouTube channels that love saying everything is going up in smokes because they hate Joe Biden. The hosts hate Joe Biden. I'm not going to say who they are. They hate him. They hate him. They always have. And they hate every Democratic viewer that they have. They don't have Democratic viewers. They have GOP viewers. They hate Democrats and they hate progressives. They're going to be the they're going to be the GOP channels like a Fox News that says the recon is never going to pass. It's done. It's gone. Goodbye. Don't ever talk about it. It's done. Then there's going to be the channels that don't explain anything to you. And I mean broadcast channels that don't explain anything to you. So you're going to listen and you're like, that just sounds very confusing. I understand what happened. And then there's going to be me. This is why you want to stay here, because this is where it's going to get very, very strategic. A lot of moves and a lot of twists. Day one, Monday. Monday, we're going to hear from the press secretary, the White House press secretary. Did Joe Manchin say on Thursday, or actually Wednesday, when he met with the president? No. I'm going to roll some dice with you. Oh, actually, I'll jump in the live chat. Do you think when the President of the United States wrote a letter to the American people on Thursday that he needs a few more weeks because things haven't been figured out yet? Do you think that was a false statement and that Joe Manchin had actually said no? Or do you think that Joe Manchin had said, I need a little bit more time, as he's always said for the last 6 months, I need a little more time, and that the Sunday morning interview that he did not tell the White House he was having ahead of time, did not tell anyone he was appearing on Fox News, the White House was surprised the interview occurred, and said no. Do you think that was Joe Manchin blindsiding the White House or not? My opinion of the situation is, I'm going to go with Liz Warren. I'm going to go with Liz Warren in the White House, that they had not come to an agreement on everything, but they were very close, and that for him, Joe Manchin, to appear on broadcast news and suddenly say, it's a no. Well, wait a second, you've never told us no or yes. Now, you can reserve yourself for voting in the live chat until I tell you the history of Joe Manchin and his representations, because they have not been accurate. In May of this year, you remember on this channel, Joe Manchin told the American people that he would vote in favor of the recon if you took out the roads and bridges and made a separate body of legislation. Otherwise, if you kept it together, he would vote against the recon. So because of him, they took the roads and bridges out and separated out so that you can get a vote in favor of the recon. Well, I think that was a nice little scheme there. They separated out, and then in the weeks that followed thereafter, Joe Manchin was asked what provisions do you not like about the recon. The paid leave. We can go through the list. You and I remember. We know what provisions he doesn't like about the recon. He doesn't like the paid leave. Okay, take the paid leave out. He doesn't like the Citizens West Virginia paying for the Medicaid gap fix. So Raphael Warnock came in from the Georgia Center and fixed it so that it's done as a workaround plan. Fix it. Good. He didn't like, back in April, the corporate tax rate was going to go from 17%, which is too low at the moment, I think it's 17%, to 28%, Joe Biden proposed. He wanted 25%. That was the recording on this channel for 3 weeks, that he came out and said, I'll do 25. And the president said, fine, I'll do 25. Well, we do know Liz Warren tells us this week that suddenly Joe Manchin has a problem about the corporate tax rate. Okay, something's wrong there. And I'm going to take both sides on this one. Either Joe Manchin is not holding his promise to 25%, or, and I'm going to go with the or, I'm going to roll it, I'm guessing here, this is not fact, I'm guessing that the White House did not come down the corporate tax rate like they had said they would back in April. Again, this is a consistent theme I'm sort of seeing here, where we're told concessions are going to be made by the White House, things are going to modify, numbers are going to be modified, provisions removed or brought down, and then we come back months later and we're still hearing the same problem. Who's the stubborn person in the White House? Was the corporate tax rate still up at a 28%? If I was in the press room on Monday morning, I'd say, Joe Manchin has a problem with the corporate tax rate. Why? He already said 25%. Didn't you reduce it to 25 back in April? We've been talking about this for 6 months. Is it back up at 28%? Who brought it back up to 20%? Things like that. Now, with that, all this lines up very clearly that these are very fixable things. This is not rocket science. You call the floor vote Chuck Schumer in the Senate. Democrats, the senator from West Virginia, majority leaders, Mr. Schumer, says to Schumer, I don't like the corporate tax rate. Why do you not like the corporate? It's just too expensive. There's inflation, blah, blah. So what do you want the corporate? The corporate tax rate is too low under the Trump administration. They should not have brought it down to 70%, but I like it higher, but 28% is onerous, it's too high. Okay. Good. That's why calling the vote is good for us. He comes out and we say, and then immediately we all look to our left, and then Ann is bringing the zucchini boats and smacking someone from Yale and saying, do you still have that corporate tax rate at 28% in the White House? Because we already said we ain't doing 28%. Who is the stubborn insert something that rhymes with though in there, and say, who is the person in the White House that keep on getting these numbers wrong? Now, we do know on the Fox News interview where Joe Manchin says the CTC is written as like a 30-year program. I agree to 1 year. So he's pretty blunt on that. I mean, he's pretty blunt that there's something wrong with this. And I've been talking about this wrongness for 5 months. So how do they get this done? And how do they go forward? And why are you in a better position than anyone else? First, there was one person in the live chat during the commercial break, not a member, but certainly a subscriber, who is the type of person who I told you in January 2021 shouldn't be on this channel, shouldn't be watching this channel. The viewer said, so I guess I'm not getting a stimulus check in December. Oh, donut. The donut people of society who just want to show up and collect a check from the mailbox, this will be the exit story for them. This will be the exit story for them until they maybe check back in January. Say, did they fix it? Did they fix it? When's my check land in my bank account? Those are the people that sort of want to, bounce out. So bounce away, because that's the person just looking for an automatic thing in their bank account. The recon will get done, and it will have fortunes of checks in there, and potentially also MSCs. But for someone to jump in the live chat right here, which I totally expected when I saw the breaking news from Joe Manchin, and the person's comment was written something like this: I told you there was never going to be a stimulus check. No. Did you tell us that the forced stimulus recon would never pass? That's sort of different than there's no stimulus check or MSC. No MSC is different than the forced stimulus recon would go up in smoke in Joe Manchin's eyes although it's not gone up in smoke at all. That's a very different narrative. So that person sort of wants to stay on focus. All right, let's go back, stay off focus. Let's go into what happens now tomorrow and then January. Tomorrow is really going to be daggers. White House, press secretary, the president, Bernie, Jollipaul, Liz Warren are all going to ask what you're asking. When did it become a no for Joe Manchin? If after all these months, when press asked him, is it a yes or no? And he says, I'm not giving you an answer. And when the press asks, is it a yes or no? He says, let me think about it. When did it become a no on the Sunday before Christmas? Suddenly an epiphany? Or was it always a no and you were avoiding the subject matter? And why is it a no? Not only when did it become a no, but why is it a no? And this is where you and I want to be laser focusing on. Why is it a no? Back in September, I told you at the time that Joe Manchin said the clean energy provision in there is a no starter, meaning he will never vote for the recon if you leave that clean energy provision in there. In fact, I talked about it in our special report on Thursday. And guess who left it in there? The Brian DCs of the world. He was told by Joe Manchin in April that you leave it in there, I'm always voting against the recon. It goes after the people of West Virginia and their livelihoods. They'll lose their jobs. And I understand you want to do a clean an environmental agenda, but I have to protect my citizens and their livelihood. So for 6 months, the darn provision was in there when you learn you're never going to pass the recon, and you keep on telling the guy to change the position. He says no. And finally, in September, they took it out. So the White House wasted 6 months on one provision that they knew was a non-starter for Joe Manchin. So I'm ready and anxious on Monday to hear what's the no to from Joe Manchin in the recon. And when did the White House learn it, or are they learning it just when you and I are right now? I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case. I think Joe Manchin has told the White House in specific terms which provisions are no since April. And what they have done is not modify the language, make it a 20-year provision like the CTC. And guess what? I could jump in the live chat right now. I could just feel the people's reaction saying, wait a second. Joe Manchin caught the White House trying to send out $3,600 to families for 20 years, and they don't even want to send out an IRS stimulus check in the White House's agenda, even though the Senate Democrats want to put in there. I would be angry about that as well. So I can just sense that coming through the live chat. Then we want to see if provisions that were non-starters are still in there. Are you going to kill an entire recon because of paid leave? I know paid leave is really good. I know paid leave is really helpful, but you're going to kill an entire recon paid leave? Of course you're not. Now, you can have Prince Harry and his wife make as many phone calls as you want, but that ain't going to change the equation. If Joe Manchin doesn't want paid leave in there, take it out and get the rest of the body of legislation done. Now, the White House didn't want to call the vote because the White House thought that calling the vote and having to fail would look bad for the president's agenda and the president's image with the poll ratings as low as they are. But with the poll ratings as low as they are, you might as well show that you're actually attempting something. And then guess what? If you think it through, which I don't think he has, the American people will see that Joe Biden attempted to do right and Joe Manchin raised his hand on C-SPAN on a Tuesday at 6 o'clock at night and said no, and I was upset with Joe Manchin, not with Joe Biden. I'm not saying to transfer the guilt. If the guilt is really with Joe Manchin, let Joe Manchin say no and then fix it. How to fix it again, if you're just joining this broadcast, the special report live from Santa Monica, California on a Sunday morning is 1, Vote-A-Rama, come back and change the provisions. 2, a brand new body of legislation. Or 3, that you just do a informal poll, which they do before you call the vote. And then you get sense of where you are. Oh, there's another way. And the other way is during the debate before the vote. There's always a debate before the vote. You get Joe Manchin to say the things that are wrong. And then finally, the Mazie Hironos, the Dick Durbins will say, okay, we got some clarity from him. He doesn't want these three provisions. Take them out. Bernie says, I have to keep them in there. Bernie, you keep them in there. We're not going to have anything. Take them out, and then we got something, and we're done. Okay. All right. I'll take it out. Let me jump to the live chat and see some of your reactions right now and see what you're talking about across the board. Popcorn and more coffee, says Scott Horn. Terry Rose says some more wine. Let's see. Sandy, we need that third stimulus grants and some help now. Yes. So where's this channel going? Coming Monday, you're going to see me back on point. Normal coverage, normal recordings, focusing on third stimulus, which I'm going to in just a second. Oh, I guess I'll go do it right now. We're almost at the 51-minute mark. Good morning, everyone. There's Dragon. Sandy, I told you so. Here's Sandy, Department of Human Services. They may help me out. Oh, great. Congratulations, Sandy. Where's some donuts? Donut Halls, says Carol. Okay, so let me go back into the other items I want to cover in this morning's live special report from San Marco. First, student loan debt forgiveness. There's an offer on the table to forgive $10,000 of student loan debt. The Democrats should take it. Again, this is the Democrats asking for too much. They wanted $50,000. He ain't doing $50,000. Take the offer of $10,000. He previously gave student loan debts for individuals who became disabled or went to work in the nonprofit public sector after graduation. Then, this stimulus, a lot of questions about this and SNAP and your COLA. So your COLA is going up January 1, 5.9% automatically. You didn't receive the letter? Don't worry. You don't need the letter. It is automatically. Everyone, 5.9%. Now, back in October, your SNAP went up an average of 25% lifetime. 25%, COLA, 5.9%. So the two very different percentages. Your benefits check is income. And your benefits check is based upon how much income is. So now your income is going up 5.9%. Your SNAP is going to go down a little bit in some places based upon how much your income has gone up, 5.9%. Don't think that the COLA raise is bad. There's every time I say this, I can't believe I'm making this recording. There's some people saying, oh, that darn COLA raise. Now I'm going to go down SNAP. You're getting 5.9% more of COLA. You're getting 5.9% more per year lifetime on your benefits check. And your SNAP already went up an average of 25%. Why? This is not making sense to you. Your SNAP already went up 25%. So it goes down 1 or 2%. Then you're still up 23%. And your benefits are going up 5.9% year after year. And guess what? Under this stimulus, they're going to go up even more. Don't you want to have a bigger monthly check if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security? I don't understand this one. That people say, my SNAP is going down. Now, your SNAP is not getting canceled. Your SNAP is only going to get canceled if you barely qualify for SNAP because you make too much in benefits and other income. They're going to remove the asset cap and remove the income cap and remove the marriage penalty, and love is going to win, and you'll be able to marry your long-term love interest. Let's turn over to, as Sandy said, let's turn over to third stimulus. Some people in the morning's countdown live show this morning said, thank goodness for LALATE covering these grants, this third stimulus. He's really watching out for us to get the sums of money. Yeah, so coming Monday, this is how this channel is going back into the details of third stimulus, every single penny across the board, making it simple and clear for you because this is money that's here, it's now, it's right here. Let's go over the details briefly right now. Average view of this channel has gotten $5,000 from third stimulus. It is rent, utilities, mortgage assistance they've got in the last 2 weeks. This is holiday stimulus. This is money you can get right now. Number one, if you got the money before for third stimulus, you can get another round. Number two, you never got it before, you can get it today. Where do you get the money? You're going to get that rent. The rent is a lot of money. You're going to reach out to 6 places to get the rent. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, and State House Authority. The keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID. Mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. You do 3 musts. You must reach out to all 6 places. Number 2, you must get multiple applications on file. Number 3, you must do multiple rounds. So if you got money early this year, get another round today. If you got 1 round yesterday for the months of, let's say, October, November, December, get another round today for the months of January, February, March. Number 2, get utility assistance. Number 3, get SNAP. You get it from Department of Agriculture. If you got a third stimulus check, you qualify for SNAP. It's a lot of money, SNAP. Number 4, get multiple items, 2 or 3 or more items. Now, We've had a lot of success stories. And if you've had a success story and I haven't featured live on air, send me a private message. And I'll feature a lot of those success stories tomorrow again back on this channel. But here's what I want to go over is that the people who've gone to the money in the last 2 weeks have averaged out 4 to 6 months of rent and 2 utilities. That's great, but there's something that can be better in there. At the 2 utilities, you got 4 utilities. I know you do. You got 3 or 4 or 5 utilities. So get that other utility company. That is an extra $600, $700. That's what Maylu did. She listened to me. She got another $700. Then you can get another round, just like I explained to you. So let's say you got your utility bill paid for those 3 months, get a different 3 months, or reach out to a different organization to get other sums of money. Then, if you've not become a member, go under this video's description and become a member today to get that incredible newsletter. It comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It features the 6 places you reach out to, the keywords you say, the 3 musts. It also features stuff not covered in this video. There are 5 nonprofits that will help for this money as well. They cover for different eligibility. They even cover for items not covered in this video. There's one nonprofit that also helps for home repairs. There is an incredible statement from Treasury you're going to read before reaching out to get this money. This money is around. It ain't going away. There's a lot of it. So don't think if you're watching this video before Christmas or after Christmas, oh, they probably ran out because everyone's rushing on. No, there's a lot of this money, and I'm staying on point. And I'm going to be answering more of your questions live on air about third stimulus, because I think that is really where there's a big need for on this channel, where we see fourth stimulus not becoming a law in the month of December, people needing third stimulus. So I think there's a need for me to answer on air some third stimulus questions as well. So that live show is coming to this channel. And we have a show that's almost running in an hour. I told you it was a special report. Join me next at the holidays. I thought I was almost running to the time slot for the holidays, LA. Join me in half an hour from now for holidays, LA. It's 11 a.m. Then we have a 1 o'clock afternoon show. Sorry about yesterday's afternoon show. I don't know what happened. It was programmed for the wrong time slot. 1 o'clock afternoon's LA show. And then the 3 o'clock afternoon show today, brand new. Meantime, if you missed it, brand new programming schedule on Evenings LA. We have the Evenings LA at 5, brand new. The Evenings Countdown, which you love, at 6 o'clock. Holiday Stream Stimulus at 7. First part about this, second part about holidays. And then at 8 o'clock, the surprise sleeper hit that no one saw to be a hit, not even me. I didn't know it was going to be a hit. Evenings Extra, a brand new show at 8 o'clock, opposite Calcine, which also airs at 8 o'clock. The latest details to wrap the night about your stimulus, and boy, it's been a massive hit. That's Evenings LA at 5, Evenings Countdown at 6, Holiday Stream Stimulus at 7, Evenings Extra at 8, opposite Calcino, also at 8. And then we got shows all the way throughout the night. Meantime, stay with this channel, because in January, you're going to maybe see some big, new, exciting changes you're going to really like. And thank you for watching Overnight's Crypto Metaverse last night, one of our most watched shows to date. And with that, I want you part of this incredible family. So subscribe, like this video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Have a beautiful day. Have a beautiful holiday. Hope your football teams win today as well. And join me next at Holidays LA, starting in about 35 minutes from now, as Sundays continue. I'll have more about this on a big afternoon show at 3 o'clock and a big evening show at 5.